Do you wish somebody wrote down the recipe for your parenting challenges? Did you want tips and tricks to become a better mama for you and your babies? I know I do. If you're a mother who feels that you are doing the best you can with the hands you've been dealt, but you're still getting it done, then this podcast is for you. I'm so glad you tuned in to Nailed It Motherhood because we might have the recipe that nobody wrote down.
Welcome back to another exciting episode of Nailed It Motherhood Podcast. I am your host with the most, Tamara Eldridge. You already know we have an amazing mom to share her story today. I know you know because I broadcast it and she's here and I'm excited for you to hear her story. But you know how we do it here. I need to talk to you listeners first. Anything you hear today that makes you laugh, reflect, or just say, sure, show us some love by liking, following, or sharing this episode. You know you want your friends to hear what she has to say. Don't be shy. You can even drop a comment or leave a review so other parents can find their way to our space. Every little bit helps this community grow and thrive. And I thank you all for helping us get there. Today's guest has the most unique experience of being an expert in trust and collaboration in her profession while also going through the ebbs and flows of life. In other words, life be life, y'all. And let me tell you, the last 6 years of her journey have been nothing short of transformative. We are welcoming to the show today the beautiful, fierce, faith-filled, resilient mama, Agyapong. Thank you so much for joining me today, Ama.
Absolutely, Tamara. Thank you for having me. I'm honored. And that was one heck of an introduction. Okay.
Baby girl, you deserve that introduction.
Thank you.
Okay. You deserve it. I'm so glad you're here. I'm excited and eager to hear what you have to share with us today. And, you know, I'm also excited because we have a lot of things in common other than being parents. And just kind of talked about that a little bit before. But before we jump into the nitty gritty of things, I need for our listeners to get a feel of who you are through your bio because you are a whole vibe. Okay. So I'm going to read your bio and then we'll jump into our episodic tradition of our Tavi tale so I can share about my baby before you have more. So here we go. Ama Agyapong, also known as Vision Lake, is get this guys, she is the CEO yeah, of Inclusion Enterprises. She is a speaker, master facilitator, certified EEOC investigator, and yes, we are not running from the politics, and talented senior level consultant with 15 years of progressive leadership experience in human resources, strategic planning, program development, employee engagement, and culture change management experience. With an MBA in global management, oh girl, y'all, she got all the brains. She has implemented functional, inclusive workplace strategies in partnership with key stakeholders focused on representation, retention, and engagement. That is our girl. I am so excited to hear what she has to say. But first, I have a question for you, lady. How old is your child?
He's 6.
6. Perfect age.
Yes.
I have a 5-year-old daughter, and this is our episodic tradition, Tavi Tale. And I just want to know, does your son have a phone or anything that he can communicate back and forth with you?
So no, he does not have a phone with me. But he does have one at his dad's house because his dad felt like he should have one. But I am not a fan of him having a phone at 6 years old. Personal stance, everyone do what they want, but that's just where I stand.
I get it. I totally get it. So I actually purchased like a little kitty phone for my daughter at Christmas I think when she was 4 going on 5. So, I mean, who knows where that phone is? And this is why she will not be getting a phone. But I have to share with you as a part of my Tommy tale that I regret my decision of teaching my daughter how to send messages to me on her school iPad to my work Teams,
Oh, this is so
Microsoft Teams.
good.
I regret it immensely. And I wish I had like the full thread pulled up on my computer, but I did take a screenshot. So I have to share that with you because I want to show you why I regret showing her how to text me. If you just give me one second.
I need to see this. Okay.
You ready? Listeners, I love it. So eventually this will be on YouTube, not right now. So listeners, I will make sure to post it in social media, but this is why I regret showing my child how to message me. Today, this was just the beginning.
That's full communication
of her. And then oh my God. But she said this one plus big old unicorns plus burgers and pizza and French fries. She sent it about 6 times back to back to back. She was wholly focused on making sure she got all of the emojis and icons and graphics and whatever she could get into her message. She was committed. And that's what she sent me today.
So committed.
So I believe, and she even went as far as to tell me, Mom, I need to put an adult drink on there for you. Oh, I'm going to give you 2 adult drinks. That's how much my baby loves me.
That is amazing. And she's 5. So the fact that she knows how to do that is pretty incredible, though.
I mean, you show her something one time and she's in it to win it for the rest of her life.
Oh, that is really good.
Oh, it's good, but it's not because I have to suffer the consequences. That was my Tommy tale. Thank you so much for engaging with me. I appreciate the share. Not a problem. Not a problem. Now, enough about me and my Microsoft Teams child. This is your time to shine. So I want to make sure that I turn the floor over to you so that you can share your herstory story with us.
Wow. So, I've been thinking about this. Like, what do I say about myself for my journey? And I think in a nutshell, I'm a girl from Miami. In a nutshell, I'm a girl from Miami-Dade County who has experienced a lot, overcome a lot, and wanting to achieve a lot. So I was raised in a single-parented household, my mom and my little brother and I. And my grandparents were very, very prominent in my life and very close to my grandfather. He was my father figure. And so tight-knit from there, decided to go to Tuskegee University. And I would say that was the first choice I made that was against the grain because everyone wanted me to stay in Florida. Florida was paid for, all of those things. Again, my grandparents, very influential. They're like, why are you leaving here? And why are you going to Alabama? Do you know what is in Alabama? Right? Like they're thinking from their time. And my mom was the only one who was supportive, but we didn't have a lot of money. And so fortunately, I got a track scholarship, academic scholarship. I still had to get there. And the reason I'm bringing up not a lot of money is because that has been pivotal in my life. Like I experienced poverty. I know what it's like not to know what I'm going to eat the next day. My mom's still making it happen. She built a business, successful business, but during this time, business was down again. So I've experienced that entrepreneurship journey, which is why I always wanted to stay away from it. We made it to college by the grace of God. And I really feel like I was exposed to Black culture at Tuskegee, not just because of it being an HBCU, but I was able to experience how multifaceted we are as Black people. In Miami, I have everything there and people from the Caribbean and all of these things. And it's not a lot of Black Americans. So I was able to experience the skater Black American, the rocker Black American, the sorority girl, the preppy, the hood, the everything. And that let me know, wow, we're pretty great and we're so much bigger than the box they try to put us in. So that first, decision going against the grain is what led me to really embracing and loving my Blackness and everything about it. So major in finance, get to the finance industry, all of those things. I graduated in 2008. So there was a recession. So I get laid off, move back down to South Florida. And I will say that is probably the first decision that poverty impacted me. And why am I saying that? Because I danced my entire life. When I graduated from college, I really wanted to move to New York and dance. But that poverty mindset was, who's going to take care of me? How are we going to do it? How am I going to pay my bills? I got to now give back. And so I made the practical decision. I've always made practical decisions. And so moved back down to Miami, working, have a great career. I decided to go back to grad school. Choice number 2, where poverty impacts it. I want to go to Northwestern or go to Columbia and just be in school for, a year and a half, 2 years. But I saw the cost and I said, who's going to take care of me while I'm in grad school? So I decided to work full time, go to a good school there in South Florida. And then I move on, get recruited by a Fortune 50 company. And now I'm in a leadership role for the very first time. That leadership role, I felt very blessed to have it. But Tamara, let me tell you, I was pretty terrible at leadership. I was really bad, actually. So coming from the financial industry was just a very, very different culture. Financial industry is if I don't talk to you, that means you're doing something right. So just stay with the status quo. Retail is very different. And so bumped my head a whole lot, had to start practicing humility, especially once they had a focus group about me and how terrible my leadership was and how high turnover was and all of these other things. And so that's when I started to truly understand the impact of leaders and how they make a difference in someone's day. And that's when I started creating frameworks around how do I listen? How do I receive feedback? How do I give feedback? How can I make an impact, positive impact in people's lives at the moment they're here? So I got my act together so I could save my job. And from there, kept getting promoted until I was an executive HR leader. And now I'm considered like the culture cleanup lady. So I'll go to different stores, clean up their culture. Every store looked like the United Nations. It was just the diversity was absolutely beautiful. I had the goal. I want to be, VP by 30, all the things, had a plan. Everything was planned out. And that's when, you meet a boy, you get married, you have a baby, and then everything shifts and changes. And it's still pretty remarkable when I think back because I didn't even want to be like a mom. I didn't really care about that. I always wanted the career because, again, poverty was driving. And so I knew I wanted to make a lot of money. I wanted to be on private jets and I wanted to make impact in multinational corporations. And now this little human is in my life and that's all I care about. And then I'm like, wait a minute, I don't want to work this long. I don't want to work 14-hour days. I don't want to drop him off at daycare to be the first one there, last one to be picked up. Like just my priorities completely shifted. And that's when I made the decision. I'm not crying in the parking lot anymore. I'm going to quit my job. And my then husband was not supportive. He was not happy at all because, again, you're leaving a big bus for a baby. And I remember him saying, other people have done it. So what's the problem with you? And that's when I started to find my voice as a mom because I'm like, other people could do it, but that doesn't mean I have to. And that was the very first time I made a decision against the poverty mindset that was always running in my head. The practicality that was always running in my head because I thought I had to make ends meet. I can't be poor again. I can't be poor. And this is the first time I was like, forget that. God grew this baby in me. So God gonna make sure I'm okay. I has to be there for him. And so left, started a company. Again, I didn't want to be an entrepreneur. I saw the ebbs and flows. No, thank you. I want security. but I made all my son's baby food. So I started a baby food company, but I started for the wrong reasons. And here's why. Because I don't know, moms, you probably can relate to this. The moment you have the degrees and the accolades and you decide to take time off, what are some of the questions you get, right? Well, what are you doing all day? Well, what you got to do with your life? Do you feel like you're wasting your skills? I used to get those questions. And then I had my ex-husband like, well, I mean, what you gonna do while you home all day? And so I decided to start a company because I made all his baby food anyway. And it was successful-ish, but it was for the wrong reasons. And so that's when I got a phone call one day. And again, I needed all this validating. Got a phone call one day and a good friend was like, hey, have you met this group of ladies? Such and such and such. I'm like, no. She was like, you looking for a job? I'm like, no, I'm home with my baby. I'm a stay-at-home mom. Okay. And that lasted all of 4 months. And that is how I fell into consulting. And these ladies saw something special in me. They literally raised me in the consulting field. I had always wanted to do it, but they took a chance on me. Cherie Knowles, she's absolutely amazing as HRKS. She saw the talent, took a chance, and it started from there. So I started by, building policies and procedures and doing all the boring stuff in HR. And that grew into me teaching workshops about strategic planning and, engagement scores and those type of things. And then we quickly found out what my unique ability was. And that was teaching, speaking, and coaching. And so after time and time and time, I still do some work with them, but I was with them for a good 5 years before starting my own brand through prayer and everything. I felt like I needed to come from behind the background and launch something of my own. And that is how that Inclusion Lady started. That is how Inclusion Enterprises started. That focuses on my unique ability. But through it all, my promise to God was, if you let me do this, I will tell everybody it was you. And I promise I will always put my kid first. Because launching the brand was also the day after a divorce, right? So I was like, even through all of this heartache, all of this pain, I promise I will put this child first because I truly feel like he is my gift and like my North Star. And this career allows me to live a life of impact I couldn't even imagine and do what I promised, which was put my kid first. So that's my story. I feel like it was pretty long, but thank you for listening. And that's how I got here.
Well, first of all, it was not long at all. Before you said that, the first thing I wanted to say is that you are such a phenomenal storyteller. I just enjoyed your story, and it was kind of hard to keep up with all of the great points that you were making. You've had a lot in your story. Yeah, girl. Let me pause and say that I recently completed a Courageous Conversations cohort so that I can be a racial practitioner, a racial equity practitioner. And yeah, I'm putting that out there in the airwaves. So I recently did my racial autobiography, and I'm going to share it with you when we get off.
Yes.
Because you'll see how similar our stories are. I already kind of mentioned to you that I'm not from Pittsburgh.
Right,
I grew up in Westmoreland County. And yeah,
it's
it was a culture shock. Oh, girl, a lot of what we call it unpacking, a lot of unpacking and even identifying where whiteness showed up in me. Yeah. So, yeah, I know you know.
Oh my gosh. I mean, we all swim in the same small, foggy, nasty water, right? So of course we're going to ingest some of that as well. And it takes a lot of unlearning and starting this company, the divorce, like all of that was a part of my de-shedding, because who are you if you aren't the picture perfect married family with the career, with the child, with the degrees? That's the status that, this culture has shown of success. And you're just so much more than. So thank you for sharing that.
I mean, to the point where I didn't know if I wanted to be a mom. That's how much we have in common. Like it was it was a happenstance moment. And if you do listen to earlier episodes, you'll get a glimpse of that. But because this episode is not about me, it's about you, and I have questions about you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So it sounded like you had strong men in your life.
Yeah, my grandfather.
And that's always it. Like that grandfather holds it down for so many kids who are living under a single parent household. But share how those relationships with those men helped you make the decision in your marriage to remain in your marriage.
Yeah.
Does that question make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So it's such a good question, because sometimes my grandfather passed away in 2018 when my son was like 3 months old. And so it's so many times where I'm like, dang, granddaddy, like I wish you were here to talk to you about these things, right?
Yeah.
My grandparents were married for 62 years when he passed away. And so I saw people together, but through obligation, and not necessarily because they were like in love with each other. They actually didn't like each other very much. And I was like, I don't want a marriage like that. But I saw how they sacrificed themselves and their happiness to build this really beautiful family. And so thinking of them, and it was twofold. So thinking of them, I felt I was supposed to stay in my marriage. But seeing how my grandfather sacrificed for his family gave me a profile of what a man should be, and how he took care of his family, and how he was, building a lawn service and working day and night, but still had time to talk to his wife about her day, or be on the floor playing puzzles with me, or with talking to his kids. And so because I had such a strong example of a man being with someone who wasn't that, I kept comparing it, and I was like, I know they stayed, but bro, you ain't my granddaddy. So, so it was a constant tug and pull. And I don't even know if I answered your question, but it was a constant tug and pull, constant comparison. And finally, I just decided, like, I do what's right for me.
No, you totally answered my question. And I knew exactly where you were going when you said seeing your grandfather sacrifice. I knew exactly where you were going. Again, that's what I saw. That's my heart, my grandfather. And he passed in 2021, I think. Yes.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I'm sorry to hear how you were. Yeah.
That was my guy. Like, to this day, my son, because my grandfather, he was in home hospice, and I was like, granddaddy, I'm coming. I promise I'm coming. And he was like, I know, I'm gonna wait for you. So he waited till I got there with my son to meet him, pray over him, kiss on him, love on him, hug him. And then my grandfather passed away like maybe 5 days later. So he waited on him. And so I make sure, and he always called my son the judge. So I make sure my son knows who my grandfather is. But why I say that is because my son would be like, Mommy, how much do you love me? I'd be like, the most. You know that. You're my favorite person. He's like, you love me more than your granddaddy? I'm like, ooh, that's hard. But I do. But he comes right after you, right? And like, we make those jokes. So that just shows you how profound he was in my life.
Yeah. It's a different kind of love, honey. You just don't get it. That's awesome. That is awesome. Against the grain. You've always been one who went against the grain. Yet you are in position where God needs you to be. Has going against the grain ever caused issues in parenting for you?
Yeah, that was a huge problem in our marriage, because I pray a lot. I didn't consider myself a Christian before I had my son. Something happened when I got pregnant, and this baby just grew inside of me. And I decided to build my own relationship with God. So within that, I was like, you let me borrow this child. Like, he's really yours.
Yeah.
I'm going to need your guidance, because, I didn't even want to be a mom. So I don't know what the hell I'm doing. But, I had very strong examples with my mom and my grandma, but I wanted to walk this thing out the way I wanted to. And so there's a lot of prayer, a lot of guidance, a lot of reading, a lot of all of these things to help to help inform my motherhood journey. And my husband was just very different. And so me saying, I don't care what your mama did. I don't care if other kids are doing this. I don't care. This is what I feel I need to do for our child. That was constantly going against the grain. Even quitting my job, again, against the grain. I'm like, I want to focus on him, spend time with him. I want to do academics with him. I want him to read before he goes to bed. I want him, all of these things. I want to limit how much TV he watched. Like all of it is completely against the grain from how he grew up.
Hear that.
So it caused a lot of conflict.
But, and I mean, and not just in the way that you're explaining it. I mean, you're not bad mouthing him. You are just telling it what happened and how it didn't work out for you.
Yeah.
And do you have
two different approaches? No. Tamara, sometimes I'm like, again, I have that model of my grandparents. Made it 62 years. To make it 62 years, you got to go through some stuff.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'm like, did I bow out too soon? But then I remind myself it's just very different times. And I just know how I felt. I was unhappy. I knew this wasn't it. And so sometimes I think about that. Like, did I bow out too soon? But in my day-to-day life, no, I don't. I don't have regrets. I like running my race.
Yeah.
The way I feel led to run it.
Right. And the way you feel led and you're leaning to what God wants for your life.
Absolutely.
So
as much as possible.
Yeah, I hear it. You can't say that it's wrong when he's leading you and he knows what the end looks like. So I appreciated what you said about poverty mindset, because that is the reality of a lot of Black folks. We make decisions out of fear because we know what we had back then and we don't want to squander what we're holding right now. So we do make a lot of decisions with that poverty mindset. What was the shift in your mind when you decided, other than you wanting to be there with your son, when you decided no longer am I going to operate in a poverty mindset, I'm going to walk in my wealth mindset? When did that click for you?
So if I'm completely honest, I still struggle with it at times. Like I have specific affirmations that I do just to work on that mindset because it's so deep seated and so baked into my subconscious. Which, side note, if you meet my brother, he's completely the opposite, but he didn't experience the poverty. Like by the time he was of conscious mind, like my mama had built her business. So we laugh about that all the time. But I will say that shift happened, of course, when I had my kid. I saw that there was something more to life than things.
Yeah.
And I felt like I had a bigger responsibility than just climbing the corporate ladder. And I wanted to create these memories where he can look back and remember his mama always there. And I was like, I remember my mama always there, even though we didn't have money all the time.
Yeah.
And I feel like I turned out okay. And we still are very, very close. And so I wanted to at least give the gift of that. And that is what started shifting the mindset. Now, I will say I was still strategic about it. Like I still had a savings, right? I still lived below my means. I still was able to say, okay, I can be out of work for a year and still be okay. I had a husband with a job. Like I still had somewhat of a safety blanket, but me leaving corporate America was really me saying, okay, God, I trust you. So it started there.
Yeah. I love that. I love the fact that when you saw your mother, who was an entrepreneur, and when you were younger, you said, I'm not ever going to do that.
I don't want that. Not for me. I'm straight.
Yeah. Look what happened.
Man, Tim, let me tell you, I got a career coach. She was hearing me and she was like, you have all these ideas. Like, have you thought about entrepreneurship? I almost fired that lady. I was like, ma'am, I ain't hired you for this. I need you to help me get a better job. Okay?
I think career. I didn't say
entrepreneurship. No, ma'am. No, actually, I'm feeling uncomfortable. Okay. And so we talk sometimes now. She's like, I was like, okay, you were right.
Y'all besties. Now stop playing. He was like, I had told you what I saw. I seen it in you. I seen it. You ain't want to hear me.
Right.
True. So I love listening to you talk about your son. This is totally off the note because you articulated your story so well. I don't really have a lot of questions. I've had a lot of hot points, like a lot of points. What is your favorite moment with you and your son? Now that you have molded out the time to spend with him.
I'm finding more of those favorite moments. I'm making more of those favorite moments now. And it's a bit of a few. So either we are dancing in the house, blasting music, because I introduced him like old school hip hop and stuff like that. So like we'll be listening to like African Bambaataa and just dancing and having a good time in the house. When we're at the park and grounding together and kicking the ball around, and he keeps changing the rules. And I'm like, no, you don't run this. Okay. Right. Like, and then I would say the last one is when we travel, like seeing some of these places through his eyes and him seeing it for the first time. It's why I do this work. And it's just so amazing. But why I'm saying I have to like create those moments more now is because I had to downsize. So like when I got divorced, he got the house and all of that stuff. So I moved back into my condo. So I'm in a small space. He doesn't have a big yard he had before. He was accustomed to this huge house and his dog. And just the image, right? And now we're back in the city. It's us in his little condo. He still has his dog. And it's like, how can we still make those special moments even though life has changed a lot? So I try to be really, really intentional because I know there has been a huge shift for him as well.
Yeah. I love it. I think my favorite part of what you shared reminds me of like, you are a year older than me, based on the year you said you graduated. We are able to take our kids places and travel. And that is awesome. Like that is an amazing feeling to be able to say, you have a passport. You have a passport and you have gone international. I've only done one international trip. It was my first international trip, but I was able to take my daughter with me. And it was just like my daughter was there, my niece was there, and there are 4 girls. My older sister, she's not having that. She's like, no, I'm good. I'm not going. Okay, well, you were coming, but we out.
Bye-bye.
We'll see when we get back. I'll bring you a grain of sand or something. But it's just, like to watch my daughter's face when just like staring out the window when we're driving down the street in Jamaica and the steering wheel is on a different side of the car. And now Tabia has no shy bones, only whenever you ask her to do something, but she'll start a conversation with anybody. And she was just like talking to the bartenders while we were waiting for our table, talking about, you like my dress? Like just sharing. And like they ate it up and she was just carrying on conversation. Isn't that an amazing feeling?
It's legacy.
It is legacy.
It's legacy. And you work in the school system, so I'm sure you're familiar with all the studies about like ACT, SAT. It's not that these kids are so much smarter. It's that they have background knowledge and exposure to a lot of the things that they're talking about in this content. And we're giving that to our children, which is equity within itself. So I'm right there with you. It's legacy. I will never buy a toy again if I had to.
I would love to say the same.
Like just to be able to travel if I had to choose between the two.
Yeah. That's what the goal is for like Christmases and stuff like that. We don't need toys. You have literally all these toys that you don't touch all year long. Let's go somewhere, man. I have not successfully done that yet, but soon. Okay. Well, I want to thank you so much for this segment of your episode, her story segment. And we're going to move on to play a little game so that we can get to know you a little bit more. So it is Time, listeners. Aren't y'all excited? I'm pretending I hear you. Thank you for being excited. Well, Tea Time is a game of rapid fire. I've come up with a bunch of questions. Some of them are deep, but most of them are just for fun. And what we're going to do is we're going to put 3 minutes on the clock. I'm getting better at talking and finding the clock. Okay. We're going to put 3 minutes on the clock for Amma to answer as many questions as she can and give us just a little more insight into who she's. So, my girl, Amma, are you ready?
I am so ready.
Awesome. To have my bucket of questions and I'm ready. So let's get started. The first question. What is the best gift you've ever received?
Oh. I feel like it was a vacation somewhere.
Ooh.
I don't remember to where.
Yeah.
Actually, it was my gift to myself. Yeah.
Yes, Gary.
When I graduated from grad school, I did 2 weeks in Europe.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah. That was my gift to myself. But my son also drew me this really beautiful picture. That's pretty dope. So yeah, it's those two.
Yes, absolutely. What is your hidden talent?
I don't know if people know I can dance, but I grew up doing ballet and modern dance, and I was really good at that time. So I would say that dancing.
If you could give your younger self advice, what would it be?
Oh, girl, just do it. You will be okay. I promise you'll end up okay. It always works out. Just do it.
Nice.
Do it scared.
What's the worst piece of advice you ever received?
Dang, that's a good question. I feel like it was the worst because it was, anyways. Looks like you be sleeping.
I know.
So my teacher said, looks like you just won't be sleeping then.
Oh, okay. Oh, name
right.
Focus. Right.
Like completely forget about how you feel, your biology, your mental health. Forget about all of it.
Yeah.
You gotta get this work.
Okay. Because that's the most important thing. I'm wasting your time. Name the most spontaneous thing you've ever done. You're getting all the good ones.
Damn. I will say I jumped off a cliff in Colombia into the water, and I thought that was pretty cool. But I would say more spontaneous. I was just walking in the middle of the street in France and talked to this guy that probably looked pretty scary in a pretty scary neighborhood and bought food from him, street meat. And we just stood there and talked, and it was absolutely riveting. Like, it was incredible.
That's awesome. This is going to be the last question. And you might not have an answer to this. What is the last TV show or movie you binge watched?
Oh my God, forever. On Netflix had me in a chokehold.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, like in a day, I finished it. Problematic.
Oh, I was so mad at them. I was so mad at them.
Why are you mad?
Like these little toxic kids.
They were so toxic.
They were so toxic.
And they brought me along.
I loved them.
Brought me along on that emotional roller coaster.
Oh, it was a ride. It was a ride. It was really well done. It was very well done.
And you know what I loved the most about it? I thought at first they were going to go with classism. And I'm so happy they did not.
Yeah, I thought I saw that. Yeah. And I'm very impressed. And I thought it was going to be coming from the mom most. From his 100%. Mom most. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. But they didn't do that. They took another spin to it. Absolutely adored it.
It was great. I mean, that's how good it was. I was so angry with how toxic they were. I was like, just break up and give up on each other. I'm sick of it. I'm tired of it. But
they just renewed for a season 2, right?
I know. And it's going to be like 3 years before it comes out, though. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I saw like 2027 or 2028. But that could have been somebody trolling or being sarcastic in the comments. So, I mean, hopefully they already started planning for season 2.
Yeah.
But
And hopefully it's fast, because I remember Beauty and Black on Netflix. That was such a toxic show. And I usually don't watch TV like that, but I was stuck. And it left with a cliffhanger. And man, those 6 months passed by so fast when it came back on. So it's probably fast.
That's a Tyler Perry production.
You already know. And they yeah. I usually steer clear.
We'll talk offline.
Okay. But that main character, I love her. And I was like, anything she's in, I try to watch. So anyway.
Well, there you go. Support your sister. I get you. I get you.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So at this point, thank you for playing Tea Time. Your responses were fantastic.
That was so much fun.
You really got some deep questions. I don't even know if I asked all those questions this season, but thank you for sharing.
Okay.
At this time, do you have any inspirational words or encouragement for our listeners that you would like to share?
So I have an encouraging word, but I also have a story. So I will say I deal a lot with leaders, and it's so important to know your team. Mm-hmm. And so I told you earlier about how I fell into consulting. A woman, my mentor at now, her name is Cherie Knowles, and she put me on the biggest project of my life at the lowest point of my life.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so I had, I was 6 months pregnant, and I gave birth to a stillborn. And so my son was supposed to have a little sister. Again, happenstance, didn't really plan for it, but that's what married people do. And I was heartbroken. And I remember her calling to reach out to me. And she was like, if it was anyone else, I wouldn't do this. But here's an opportunity. And I just want to present it to you. I'm not expecting you to take it, but I also don't want you to be upset with me for not knowing. And I said, Cherie, I need this right now. And why I'm mentioning that is because that project, obviously I had to keep myself up for my kid, but like I was falling into a depression, and that project kept me alive. Like it kept me on my game to feel like I do still have something to give into this world, right? Because when a mom gives birth to a stillborn, like if you have a miscarriage or if you can't, for whatever reason, have any type of childbearing issues, it messes with your self-worth. Mm-hmm. And so though I was like, I'm still going to be a great mom to my son, I was able to pour my skill set into something. Mm-hmm. Why am I even mentioning that? It's because, one, you must know the people on your team. And you must know what make them tick. She knew for me, working through my pain is what I would want to do. So treating someone the way they want to be treated, not necessarily the way you would want to be treated. And then the second thing I will say is know your superpower and double down on it. Know what you bring to the table and know that is your strength and your asset. And sometimes it's the stuff that people ragged you on your whole life because they didn't understand you. But through your inner work and your refinement, you're going to realize that was planted in me to walk in this purpose. And so that is the inspiration I will leave you all with.
Yeah. Okay, so which platform do you want us to send your offering to?
That's
because that was a word. So you can just put it in the chat. No.
You so funny. Pass the to the left. You so funny.
Ramos. So I had a question, but you answered it. I wanted to kind of know if Cherie, I wanted to know if Cherie was a spiritual person.
Very much so.
Yeah. You absolutely.
Very much so. Very much so.
She wasn't operating in, I'm going to take a wild guess. No. I think maybe. No, she knew.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. And to your average person, right, they wouldn't even think to bother. Because I'm talking about, I lost a baby on June 5th. My birthday's on June 7th. I started the project on June 9th. Yeah. So that's why your average person probably would have never reached out. But she had gotten to know me so well where she knew I thrive in those type of situations. And the type of project it was, it just added legs to my whole inclusion journey. So it literally was God ordained, but you got to know your people to make that type of call.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Now, I was joking about a link to send the offering to. However, I do want to know what is next for you and how can our listeners connect to you?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking. So I go by That Inclusion Lady on most platforms. I am probably more frequent on Instagram, and then as well as I post stuff on YouTube. I am Agyapong, That Inclusion Lady on LinkedIn, so I'm very active on there. My website is inclusionenterprises.org. You can just Google Inclusion Enterprises. It will pop up. So those are the areas you can find me. What is next for me is to continue building my brand because we're almost a year and a half old. So continue building my brand, making impact in this world. I have some frameworks that I teach, and I've specialized in teaching people how to give and receive feedback. So just making more impact. A book. I need to put a book out there. Yeah. So I would say those two things. Continue to build.
Yeah. We might be bringing you back. But I mean, I keep saying that because like all of my guests have been phenomenal, but I'm not joking. Like we might have to, yeah. Anywho, I have a few more questions before we go. And then you and I will chat after we rock out
That sounds amazing.
Episode.
This is so much fun, by the way.
Oh my gosh.
So much.
You're amazing. Thank you. Not a problem. Thank you for joining us. And actually, typically I do say thank you again. So from going against the grain to falling in line with what you're supposed to do with your life to stopping your poverty mindset and really walking in a prosperity mindset. Your story was amazing. It's valuable. The work you do is valuable. And I thank you. Like, I bet listeners wouldn't know that we did not know each other because it was just so natural. This conversation is natural. Your storytelling skills excite me because I am a storyteller through and through. So, we'll put my acting and writing with your dancing and we'll do something. East Coast.
Listen, if Ketanji Brown can be on Broadway as a Supreme Court justice, which was her life goal, by the way, I know we can make something shake.
Absolutely. I'm going to have to just piece together all of my guests who have all these skill sets. And I'm like, I need you on my team. But I have 3 more questions for you before we rock out. Is parenting hard?
Yes. Oh my gosh. It's the highest form of leadership. It's the most pressure. You can't get that wrong. Like you just can't fail on that one, right? But then you fail every day. It's just
every day.
Like error.
Every day. Oh my gosh. Wow. I'm not gonna write. It's not my that. But is he still standing?
Yes, he is.
He
Absolutely.
is. And he loves you to pieces. I can tell. What would you like to proudly tell our guests that
it's hard, but this mama is nailing it. Okay.
Yes, it is hard, but she is nailing it. I was trying to share the screen, but you got it. You got it. If you like this episode and you want to hear more personal parenting stories like Alma's, subscribe to my social media. That is Nailed It Motherhood Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. We working on the YouTube, but we get in there. And don't forget, you can follow us on your favorite podcast platform. Don't forget, you too, as application. We love hearing from our dads too. So the link is in the comments. Just go find that guest application link, fill it out, and you will hear from us soon if you are one of the chosen. And you probably will be, so don't feel bad. We welcome your questions, comments, and ideas, and we certainly hope to keep the conversation going. Until next time, mamas, papas, grandmas, and the village, we will see you soon. Keep on doing what it is you do. Smooch you.
You're listening to Nailed It Motherhood Podcast.